Chip Gaines defends himself for promoting LGBT marriage and homosexual adoption on his show. Talk, ask questions, listen, maybe even learn. Too much to ask of modern American Christian culture. Judge first, understand later / never. It's a sad Sunday when non-believers have never been confronted with hate or vitriol until they're introduced to a modern American Christian. Pathetic, bro. I would be willing to kind of try to defend Chip Gaines, who, again, I couldn't pick out of a lineup. I have basically no priors going into looking at this guy. I would be willing to say maybe he just really messed up. Maybe he wasn't that involved in the show. Maybe he didn't realize the significance of what he's doing. But to double down on this, you're not really a real Christian unless you promote two fellas purchasing children and promoting it on reality TV. If you don't do that, how can you even call yourself a Christian? This is really pathetic. Looks like they're going along with the culture, but too late. That's the funny thing is they're not even going around with the avant-garde culture. The avant-garde culture, which is returning to tradition, which is seriously skeptical of the sexual revolution, which wants to get back to normal. They're 10 years too late on this. They finally caught up with 2012, and now they're promoting weird gay stuff in contravention, it would seem, of their religion. This, to me, is a sign of the times. I don't merely say this because I'm a mackerel-snapping papist. You know I have many, many Protestant friends of all sorts of varieties and a beloved Baptist grandfather. But I think there is a reason why right now, especially among younger people, Catholicism is very hot, and why since the year of our Floyd, evangelical Protestantism has lost some ground and has moved a little bit more woke and has, somehow during COVID, just a lot of the evangelicals had been the bulwark of the Republican Party, and they started to crack a little bit, just as the Catholics started moving a little bit more in the rightward direction after years of being infiltrated by a ton of Democrats. Why is that? The issue, I think, is not so much theological as it is ecclesiological. Because the Catholic Church has been around for a very, very, very long time, because the Catholic Church recognizes a serious role for tradition, the magisterium of the church, the Catholics cannot do that. The Catholics cannot promote gay marriage. The Catholics cannot promote same-sex adoption. It can't happen. I'm not saying that there aren't snakes in the church who want to do that. There are. That's actually my point. There are plenty of snakes in the church. To quote Pope Paul VI, who was a relatively liberal pope, to quote Pope Paul VI, the smoke of Satan has entered into the church. And still, the Catholic Church cannot promote that stuff because of the magisterium, the weight of history, the inability of modern innovators to radically change the church. In religious communities that do not have the magisterium, do not have tradition, do not have just that weight of 2,000 years of church, of buildings and traditions and vestments and doctrine. Because of that, they are just more susceptible to be pulled along with the spirit of the age. So there are plenty of evangelical communities that are still rock solid on things like gay marriage and homosexual adoption. But it's not even a matter of, the tough guys standing up. It's not even a matter of even the theology totally. It's the ecclesiology. It's the can the institution in itself have the resources to withstand this kind of stuff? Really pathetic to see that Chip and Joanna Gaines are going along with this. Really, really sad. It reminds me a little bit of David French. David French, who was a conservative writer, libertarian conservative writer. He's now pretty firmly on the left, even though he's kind of the token conservative for places like the New York Times. As a conservative, I love Kamala Harris, that kind of guy. And this all started because David French, I think evangelical, debating a Catholic, Sohrab Ahmari. And Sohrab completely knifed his ideology when he said, hey man, you're defending Drag Queen Story Hour. And David French said, well, Drag Queen Story Hour is a blessing of liberty. It's one of the blessings of liberty. In a free country, we need to tolerate Drag Queen Story Hour at the public library. And it ended him. And at that point, what David French could have done is said, hey, you know what? I got ahead of my skis. I was a little bit too reactive and I said something that was ridiculous. And so, no, I don't believe that Drag Queen Story Hour is bad. I'm not going to let an error in my thinking lead me to this crazy place. But he couldn't. He did the same thing that Chip Gaines is doing. You're not even talking and asking questions. You're being so judgmental. You don't even think that a wholesome evangelical conservative show should promote two fellas buying kids? How judgy. How judgy. This ain't it. This ain't it, man. This stuff, this is any Faustian bargain. I'm not even accusing him of making a Faustian bargain. He might have just screwed up. But any Faustian bargain, you're willing to sell your soul for some material gain. And the irony is you don't even get the material gain because the devil's a liar. And here, I think there's so much pressure from Hollywood, from the establishment entertainment to say, hey, compromise on marriage, compromise on adoption, compromise your beliefs. You'll get a huge audience. And if people do that, the funny thing right now is you'll lose audience. You won't even get the thing that you think you're trading your soul for. Really, really pathetic. Okay,